welcome to Sixth Form Open Evening. My name is Mrs. Dukes. I'm subject leader for Sociology and I'm here to tell you a little bit more about the course.
Okay, hello Year 11, and following on from my introduction, I'd also like to introduce another member of our Sociology department, and that is Mr. Gibbs. Mr. Gibbs is a teacher of Sociology and he is also subject leader for Psychology. He teaches a small amount of Sociology, but it will be both myself and Mr. Gibbs that will be teaching you from September. Okay, so what I'm going to work through now are some of the questions that I would normally cover in a typical sixth form open evening. So I'm going to start with the most common question, which is, what actually is sociology? So lots of people that would come up to me on open evening have either never heard of sociology before, may not have studied at a GCSE, and are just interested in what the subject actually is. So let me give you a little bit of an insight into what the subject is. So the definition of sociology is really that it's the study of society and of human behaviour. It involves looking at social life, trying to explain the world that we find ourselves in today. What we're really interested in is the way that society as a whole influences us and shapes our lives. We're particularly interested in the patterns of behaviour we see in society, and this is perhaps a reason why we differ from psychology. We're interested in the patterns of group behaviour and we try to offer explanations for those patterns. For example, one pattern we see in the workplace is that there is a clear pay gap between men and women, and there are different explanations for why this may occur. Feminists, for example, may explain this pay gap due to patriarchy in our society. However, other sociologists may give different reasons. Sociologists also are interested in the building blocks of society, the things that we're all part of or will be part of at some stage in our life, and they try to explain the role that they have in society, whether that's positive or negative, and how that impacts our behaviour. For example, the family unit, and everyone is part of some kind of family unit, influences us from a very early age. It teaches us our basic norms and values, and is one of the reasons why we behave in the way that we do, which is generally quite similar to each other. Okay, I'm just going to run through a few questions now that perhaps you might have thought about, or if you're interested in, maybe an indicator that you should want to embark on a A-level sociology course. If you've ever thought to yourself, why do we behave the way that we do? Why is it that most of us conform? We behave in the same way to everyone else around us. Yes, there can be slight differences with our hair colour, our dress code, etc. But on the whole, most people behave in the same way. We grow up, we go to school, we get a job, we get a mortgage, we get a house, we get married, we have children. Why do we do that? Why do we just conform and do everything that society wants us to do? What's the benefit for us, perhaps? What's the benefit for society? So if you've ever asked yourself any of those questions, sociology might be a subject which can help develop your interest in that area. Also, those institutions I've mentioned before, if you're interested in how they affect our behaviour, or you just want to know more about them, like have you ever thought about why you're actually educated, or what's the role of the criminal justice system? Why do we punish offenders? They, again, may be questions that kind of get you excited, make you think about the world. The patterns that I've mentioned, have you ever seen any of those patterns? Have you ever thought about something like the prison population in the UK or America? The majority of the prison population is male. Around 80% of prisoners are male. Why is that? What is it about men and their likelihood to commit crime? Also, if you've looked back into the past over the last 50 years, you might want to think about why things seem to have changed so drastically. Again, sociology can offer explanations for this. And if you've ever heard of any sociological theories such as Marxism, feminism, postmodernism, functionalism, social action theories, Again, we study those throughout the course. So another big question that I would often get asked is, well, what is actually in the course? What will I be studying over the 2 years? So here is a table breakdown of the topics that we study throughout Year 12 and Year 13. I'm not going to go into lots of detail now. Feel free to pause the video if you want to have a look at these topics in more detail. But we start here in Year 12 with families and households, looking at changes to families, the nature of childhood today, marriage, divorce, the impact of government policies on family. There's some of the topics covered in that first big unit that we study up until Christmas. We then move on to education. Again, the purpose of education, why achievement seems to vary according to different social groups. And by social groups, I mean class, gender, ethnicity. Why is it, for example, that girls tend to do better in education than boys? Or why do middle class students tend to achieve higher GCSE results than working class students? Another topic that we cover throughout Year 12 is research methods. In order to understand the society that we live in, we have to actually go out and carry out research into that society. So we learn about the methods that different sociologists use, such as interviews, questionnaires, statistics, and we look at the strengths and weaknesses of those. One last big topic covered in Year 12 that sometimes goes into the beginning of Year 13 is methods in context. That's where you have to use your skills of knowing the strengths and weaknesses of research methods and applying it to an area that you've studied in education. In Year 13 we start off with a very popular topic, which is crime and deviance. We look at different theories of crime, which ultimately all try to explain the big question, why do people commit crime? What reasons do they have for doing that? We also look at social groups and crime, so why some groups are more likely to commit crime or be victims of crime than others. And then we look at some other more current topics such as globalisation and crime, crime in the media, and state crime. We then move on to our last current topic, which is beliefs in society. This used to be called religion, it's no longer called religion, and looks at how religion can impact different societies, whether it can change a society, whether it's actually declining in society now, the differences across a global context. The reason that it's called beliefs now is because science perhaps has replaced religion for lots of people in society, and we look at the impact of this. The other big section of content that we cover in Year 13 is sociological theory. So I've mentioned some of these: postmodernism, Marxism, feminism, but we also look at the big debates in sociology, such as, is sociology a science, and can sociology truly be objective? Can we step outside of our own values and study humans when we are in fact human ourselves? So there's some of the debates that we cover towards the end of Year 13. People often ask what the course looks like in terms of examination, and what we have here is 3 different exams at the end of Year 13. If you just look at the bottom of this table, you'll see there is no coursework. It is 100% exam. You will do 3 2-hour exams, and they're all equally weighted, so they're worth 80 marks each. If you have a look at here, I've put a breakdown of the different types of questions on each of the papers. As you can see, the majority of the questions are essay based. We've got 20, the 30 markers. We've got a couple of small mark questions, but not many, so you have to be able to write well if you were to take sociology. So how are you taught? We use a whole range of strategies to teach you effectively. You get topic booklets for some of the smaller modules that we do. You'll make your own notes, you get worksheets, we watch videos, clips, news articles, you get your own textbook for each of the years. We have lots of debate, discussions, you present, I present, you do your own research. It's very interactive. Another question that I often get asked is, will it fit with other subjects that I'm studying? Over the 7 years that I've been at Herts and Essex, I've had a whole range of people study sociology. Some have studied all sciences and then just done sociology, and others tend to stick with subjects that are similar. So if you're thinking of doing that, then sociology as a social science fits well with other written-based analytical type subjects like history and psychology, government and politics, English, etc. But it fits well with most other humanities subjects. So what are the entry requirements? If you took sociology at GCSE, then that's a grade B or a grade 6. If you did not take sociology at GCSE, then you just need a grade 6 in one of your English GCSEs. So what can you do with a sociology qualification? Where can you go with it? Sociology, as I've mentioned, is basically a course that deals with people. Understanding people and why they behave the way that they do. So if you want to go into any kind of career that deals with people, such as human resources or the police or media, marketing, PR, it's a very, very useful qualification to have. Also, lots of people who study sociology perhaps go down the route of working for the civil service or go into social work or go into the criminal justice system in some way. So, why should you study sociology? Well, hopefully I've given you a bit of an idea of what the course involves, but ultimately sociology is such a unique subject. It's ever changing. Every time the government introduces a new social policy, we are updating our thinking about what that means for our society. It really does make you question the world that you live in. You'll come out of 2 years of sociology asking yourself questions that you never would have thought of when you start in year 12. The other thing that's unique about sociology is you can bring your own life experience into the classroom. When we start with families, that's often very personal for people, and they are able to relate to everything that we study in sociology. It also asks you to challenge the views that you have. You may end up coming away with viewpoints that you never thought you had at the beginning of the course. And it develops a whole range of transferable skills that are really useful in any subject or career that you go into. Your ability to think critically, to construct an argument in writing, and to articulate your views clearly to other people. The other reason why you should study sociology is because our results are fantastic. I've been at the school for the last 7 years, and our results have been always in the top of all secondary schools for A-level sociology results, and very high above national averages. Here are just a few of our results from the last 5 years, and you can see that A star to A grades are always very high, as are the A star to B grades.
I'm Georgia Bailey. I'm Senior Prefect of Sociology, currently studying it in Year 13.
Okay, Georgia, can you explain what you find most interesting about the A-level sociology course?
To me, the most interesting topic would be crime and deviance, which is what we're studying at the minute. I also find that the start of every topic is really interesting because it applies to the real world. You are studying what's going on in the minute. You have to ask yourself, what is a family, what is science, and things like that.
Okay, and Georgia, did you take GCSE sociology?
No, I didn't.
Do you think it matters?
No, I don't think it matters. At the start of the course, we do a 3-week sort of introductory so that everyone has the same level of basic understanding about sociology and everyone's on the same level.
And how did you find the transition from GCSE to Year 12?
At first, it's very seamless when you're sort of doing the introductory topics. It starts to pick up into the heavier content around Christmas time. That's when I felt it was slightly harder, but your teachers are helping you to keep up and giving you the guidance to get through. You'll start to do your essays, and that's where I found it got a little bit harder.
Okay. And what advice would you give to a Year 11 that was considering taking A-level sociology?
I think that if you're considering taking A-level sociology, you definitely need to ask yourself if you're interested in people, group behaviour and the current affairs that are going on at the minute, if you're interested in watching the news and keeping up to date on what's going on, I would definitely think that is a key thing to think about with sociology. If you do then go on to study it, my advice to you would be to stay organised right from the start, keep your folders up to date and also keep your glossary up to date because there's a lot of names to learn.
Really good advice. And what do you want to do in the future, Georgia?
In the future I want to go on to study criminology at university. After that I'd then like to get involved in the Department of Justice and work behind the scenes on improving the criminal justice system.